morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Town of Portland Board of Education podcast. We just finished up with Mr. Mike Pelton, and now we have our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Charles Britton, in the hot seat here. So, good morning, Charles. How are you?
Dave, everything's good. And I just came in from outside. I can already feel allergy season about to begin.
Oh my gosh! You know, it's you can see the pollen collecting on the cars.
Yep. Like even I come out of my house and the grass is just starting to grow and get a little greener.
Oh yeah,
it's like it's here.
Yep, for sure. Get the Zantex ready.
Yeah, no, the days are longer, the clocks are ahead.
Yep.
In the life of we educators, March is a long month. There's no breaks. We only have one PD day as a break, but. Yes. It's really the time of year where we get the most consistency with learning, and otherwise, I'm happy sometimes when March is over and April begins, and even happier when May is here.
For sure,
we are on our way.
For sure. So, okay. So, where do you want to start?
Hey, first of all, shout out. I hope everybody got to see Anything Goes.
Oh, it was awesome. I was there Saturday afternoon, and the Saturday afternoon show. And of course, we had a couple of our teachers in the pit band there, so they did a great job. And Dan and Alex Kidd and so forth, and they really did a great job, and it was amazing. I would get reports from Dan. When he comes down, he says, he started rehearsing with the kids, and the kids. They were struggling with lines, but it all came together.
They got it. What was neat this year was the first time we had middle schoolers in it.
Yes.
That was cool. That was really cool to have that basically 7, 12. I had never seen that anywhere. It's always high school and middle school is sort of a imaginary line between the two. But it was really clever idea to involve those students in the cast. Build your capacity for the future and develop that talent. I'm really proud of all those kids. They worked hard, and the teachers and the pit band, everything was spot on. It was fabulous.
It really was, and the attendance was good.
Attendance was great.
Yep. I was there on the Saturday afternoon show, and the auditorium was 3/4 full, so which is good.
That's right. And now, if you're up there at the high school, you will hear the sound of leather being hit by a ball.
Yes.
Which is the sound of spring. Pitchers and catchers are done. The teams are getting together.
Yep.
Spring sports is underway. It's here.
Yeah.
And now it goes quick.
Well, I'm up there every morning walking on the track. I see all of the hurdles are on the track now. The track team is out.
We've got a beautiful new track.
Yes.
The timing system, all of the equipment because of the Gildersleeve grant that helped us out. We hosted the SEC tournament last year. It's just, everything is in a good place. Tennis courts definitely need a little work. We're fixing them.
Yeah.
Long term, that's one of our challenges. But we're in a good place. Kids are learning, and not for nothing. The biggest. I have a couple of commendations for Portland. The first one is Portland parents. You're doing an amazing job with your kids.
Yes,
they are really the nicest group of kids I think I've ever worked with in my career.
Yes,
they're nice, hardworking, good, salt of the earth.
Yep.
Kids from and they want to do well, and we're in a good place. The kids, we were. For all of the concern out there about this generation and COVID effect and all, I feel like we're kind of turning the page on some of that. We're back to some normalcy. There's still children that have, no doubt, some needs. But overall, the highest praise I could give any school district, I would send my children to Portland Public Schools in a heartbeat. I live in Wallingford, and my kids are happy there.
Yeah.
But it's a great place. Great kids, fabulous teachers. We're rolling,
and they're engaged. The music program is chorus program. Look at the involvement of in the play.
It's the whole thing. We do an amazing job with the arts, athletics, academics, and then all of the extracurriculars.
Sure,
right. It's for a small school district, we offer an awful lot. Which is a function of teachers that are willing to give their time and their passions and support kids as club advisors and coaches and a town that supports those things.
Yes.
Right. To that end, of course, March is also, you probably heard from Mike, Budget Month.
Yeah.
We've presented our budget. We've tried to keep it as lean and reasonable as possible. Mm-hmm. I've gotten pretty good feedback from folks.
Yeah.
understanding nobody likes to pay taxes. Nobody really enjoys that. But, imagine a world where we didn't, right? We wouldn't have kids, because we wouldn't have the types of experiences they're having now.
Right.
You wouldn't be preparing the next generation.
Right.
It's the price we pay to live in a first world country that's safe and nice and clean, and people are learning and happy, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's a balance. We don't ever ask for more than we need.
Right.
We ask for what we need.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done this year. And I've got to say, we can talk a little bit more, and I'd love to, about the different layers of government and the different layers of dysfunction in those different layers of government. Right?
Yes.
But here at the local level, we have I believe, an outstanding Board of Education and Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Mike, I think the world of. He's working hard.
Yeah.
He wears his passion on his sleeve, cares about this town, and wants the best for everybody here. I know we have 2 new board members, in Rick Shaw and Tim Lavoie. They're joining a fabulous group of people that ask hard questions and hold us accountable.
Sure.
But all of them across the board care about the future of the town.
Sure.
And in terms of our Board of Education, top notch.
Yeah.
I mean, they all want and expect the best for the kids. Hold me accountable and our teachers accountable for making sure, we're doing what we need to do. So, if you're worried about maybe some of the dysfunction at the federal and state level, maybe I share some of those concerns. But at the local level here, I think Portland is in really good hands.
Yeah, no. I think like I say, the Board of Selectmen, they work well together. They work well, with the Board of Education. Laurel is the chairman of the Board of Ed. And of course, Rick and Tim. Tim's been on the Board of Ed, so he knows what it's all about. As well as Rick has been on the Board of Selectmen before, so it's not their first rodeo.
That's it.
And they know how the things work, and they work together well.
And for anybody, I know maybe it's not some of the most riveting TV, but I would encourage folks to we do a great job now of recording all of these meetings, putting them out there. It's important that everybody stays informed.
Yes.
Stays engaged. Watch them, and ask questions.
Sure.
I love it when people call and ask questions or want more information. I welcome that.
Yeah.
That's the heart of transparency.
Yeah.
And of course, Dave, we have some really big conversations to have this spring about the future of the schools.
Yeah.
We have a committee that's meeting regularly.
Yeah.
Taking a look at the condition of the facilities.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, tomorrow night, today's Wednesday, yes, tomorrow night, we're doing our walkthrough at Gildersleeve, which will be our last walkthrough of the schools.
Yeah.
Working with an architect, taking a look at all of the things we need to know about in terms of the condition of the facilities, and how much it would cost, which is not insignificant, to do some of the work that needs to be done on them that, after 30 years of wear and tear,
exactly.
needs to be done. I think what you're going to see, and I don't want to get ahead of the committee, so I'll just, not say which one, but I think that there is a conversation that's soon going to come to a conclusion about the possibility of closing one of our elementary schools.
Yep.
Right. So we run 3 elementary schools.
Yep.
For 600 students.
Yep.
That's a lot of square footage, way more than we need.
A lot of overhead.
And, obviously to run 3 schools of 200 kids is a lot more expensive than to run 2 schools or 1 school, right?
Right.
I think you're going to see out of that committee a recommendation to decommission 1.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to say which one yet.
Okay.
It could be any one of the 3.
Right.
We could develop plans to close Valley View, Gildersleeve, or Brownstone.
Right.
Depending on the scope of work that needs to be done on the other 2. Mm-hmm. Any one of the 3 could be decommissioned.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that's where we're going. Does it make sense to close Valley View? Well, Valley View is on the same campus as the secondary school. It has the most land, so it may not. Does it make sense to close Gildersleeve? Well, the voters decided against that at the referendum in November. Mm-hmm. And then the last question is, does it make sense to close Brownstone?
Right.
Well, that's another one we have to think about. Right?
Yeah.
Is that, Brownstone is a 1930s era
It's the oldest building.
high school, right? It was built as a
Yes, it was.
1932 high school.
Yep.
Could it be turned into a 2030 elementary school
Yep.
with its location on Main Street,
Yep.
with a Nordic spa going in right behind it,
Yep.
and with the tremendous amount of work that it would take to turn a 1930s high school into a 2030 elementary school?
Right.
Those are going to be the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Right? And what do I know about Portland? That Portland loves Brownstone.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody I talk to has gone to or has a family
Sure.
member who went to Brownstone.
Yeah.
There's a long history, and the town cherishes it. Question has to be, if it's no longer a school,
Yeah.
what would it become?
Sure.
Right. And that is the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
And how we we convince folks that the cost of it, the location of it, the design of it. When we moved 9 through 12 to the high school,
Right.
it changed what that school was originally designed for.
Yeah.
Now, I can think of dozens of different options
Sure.
for that building, but I wouldn't be surprised if over the coming weeks, some of those recommendations had some considerations about what Brownstone could be if it were to remain a school or not.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, I've been in town a long time, and, a lot of those conversations happened, okay, when the old Central School was boarded up for 16 years, okay? That became a political football, and there was a faction in town that says, we could build something new a lot cheaper, okay, than renovating that, okay, to the town hall. But again, there's a lot of sentimental value that, people step forward. Geez, I went to school here, and it'd be a shame to tear this building down. And, in retrospect, I'm glad that it went the way it went. We refurbished Central School. It's a gorgeous town hall, Board of Education building, offices. So, I can see that same conversation coming into play, okay, with Brownstone.
And that's it, right? That's it. I think a lot of the decisions and things that the town would have done in the past would have been different if it wasn't Brownstone.
Sure.
Right? If it wasn't this historic building that people love.
Sure.
Different decisions, I'm confident, would have been made going all the way back to the 1990s.
Oh, yeah.
About what the configurations of your schools would have been.
Sure.
Right. So that's what's going to make this hard.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, not there. There is no, unfortunately, easy or inexpensive way through this. Right.
Yeah, right.
And we just lost a boiler at Brownstone.
Yeah.
We have to replace both of them now, because you don't just replace one, because it takes rigging and it's the same vintage.
Sure.
And
Yeah, yeah.
That's $286,000 that we have to do, and those things are going to continue to happen.
Yeah.
If you don't make the type of
Investment.
upfront investments.
Yes.
So we have I'm glad I'm having this podcast with you now. Mostly to impress upon everybody, it's really important for folks to tune in.
Yeah.
This over the next 4 or 5 weeks, because the work of this committee is wrapping up.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what the recommendations are going to be. I have a sneaking suspicion what they're going to be, because
Right.
I'm involved in all of those meetings.
Yeah.
But we need to have a hard conversation about how we consolidate schools, and if we do, which ones we decommission.
Mm-hmm.
And right at the front of everybody's mind needs to be Brownstone.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that its location and the condition of it and the original design of it as a high school to become an elementary school may not be feasible.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So we want people to stay engaged, okay, because, the one thing that we don't want to do, and, obviously I think the way we've been approaching, and you've been approaching with the Board of Ed and your committee and so forth, transparency is key.
Transparency is key.
And so forth. And you don't want to get to a situation, you start going down the rabbit hole, and all of a sudden you get the armchair quarterbacks coming out of the woodwork and saying, coulda, shoulda, woulda. you know, and then, well, hey, look, this is the way it's been. Okay, this process has been going forward. We've been transparent. Where have you been? You know.
Yeah, and there's always going to be, you know, there is always a function of Monday morning quarterbacking that happens in any big decision, right? And you know, from that, you know, everybody will, well, they're foolish, they're bad, they're dumb, these ideas are stupid. If only I were doing it, I would do it this way and it would be better.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be some of that. And in democracy, we welcome that.
Sure.
You know, that's the public square debate that makes us great, and we should always make sure we cherish and protect that.
Yep.
I would just say to any of those people, get a seat at the table.
Yep.
And throw your ideas out there.
Yep.
And I promise you, when you have a seat at the table,
we'll deal you in.
And we'll deal you in. And if you have a better idea, I will look at you and say, thank you. I'm willing to get behind that. But you need to be engaged.
Yeah. You got to present the facts.
That's it. You know, otherwise you can go on Facebook and rant all you want.
Yep.
But in sometimes until you have a seat at the table, things look very different when you're in the arena.
Yeah, exactly. The shoe fits better.
That's right.
Tighter on the other foot.
It's always easy to Monday morning quarterback things or second guess people or question their intelligence and motivations. But you know, we're in a pickle. You know, we're in a place where anybody who has a home or a car or a building that, you know, has been 30 years without significant improvements, well, you know the condition of it.
Hey, you know, I'm in the process of doing that at home. My house is 30 years old, and I'm in the process of redoing the kitchen. You know, it's you know, the appliances are 30 years old, and you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
You got to do your roofs, your boilers, your windows, your mechanicals, your structural. You got to redo your driveway, and then you got to maintain it. Things fall apart.
Yeah, they do.
And that's. You know, that's
the nature of the beast.
What do you call that? Entropy?
Yeah.
There's a scientific principle that talks about things fall apart.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, hey, coming up, we got some pretty big events coming up. We have April 9th. We have the band
extravaganza.
Band extravaganza.
Yes.
And Thursday, I think, is the choral extravaganza.
We do. Yep.
So displaying and showcasing all of our musical talents on both the choral side and the band instrument side, and you know, I think
all of those end of year events and things, and proms and graduations and senior nights and senior trips and everything we do to celebrate the hard work of our students who are going off into the world and going to do us proud.
There you go.
These are all of the things that I know families cherish. I know we remember for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember my graduation. I remember my proms.
Sure.
We do them safely. We do them well. We give the students the appropriate opportunities to celebrate and reflect on their accomplishments.
Absolutely.
And it's the best job in the world.
And it's amazing to see the kids, you know, step out of the high school role and onto the next chapter. You know, whether it be onto college or not onto college, or you know, a lot of kids are deciding to take the military route.
That's right.
Kids are starting to take the trade route.
Yep.
You know, so I mean, that's what makes it all happen.
Yeah. Well, to be young and have the world in front of you, right?
Yeah.
It's both terrifying, exciting, and all of us who are getting to this point in our lives wish we could do it again. Like that.
Yeah. If we only knew what.
Yeah. We knew what you knew now, right? But you know, I would just say I'm grateful for the decisions I made in life to go into education. Any of our young people graduating that are considering that as a career, I promise you it is incredibly rewarding.
So
be a teacher.
You're on the I think the Connecticut Boards of Education. Are you a member, Cabe?
I am. Yeah, we are. Yep.
Okay. So, you know, the status of, I do a careers podcast in the water industry, and I know, you know, the attrition rate and the retirement rate is staggering. Okay. We got to start. Give us the lowdown on teacher availabilities, and are students going into teaching?
They're starting to again.
Okay.
Right. So we had a dip. Right. Yep. There was, even as early as 3 years ago, a significant teacher shortage, and it still exists.
Yeah.
is very different than it was in the early 90s when I got started. When I was starting, right, all the baby boomers were still teaching, and it was hard to get a job.
Yeah.
Now it's easier, but there are some areas like special education or AP Chem or there's some areas that it's still difficult, and aren't enough people going into them.
Yeah.
But the state and schools and we're doing as all we can to try to incentivize people to go into those by singing the value and virtues of our career as an educator, and then providing the financial incentives, and the program incentives and the alternatives to certification that people can go through. And I think you're going to start to see over the coming years it swing back. I'm hopeful. Look, we went through a rough patch with COVID and coming out of COVID, but that's over.
Yeah.
Like, thank goodness, that's all behind us. And I think that people again are starting to recognize that in this profession there's a lot of hard work, but there's just as much joy. And if you can get yourself on a faculty and surround yourself with colleagues of the caliber that we have here in Portland, you're going to have a great life.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and it's a secure job.
Secure job,
and it's
good benefits.
Unfortunately, it's not something that you can outsource. You need the boots on the ground.
And we all have to figure out how we want to spend our trips around the sun.
Yes.
Right. And yes, some people are motivated by money or power or influence. Other people have a greater sense of missionary zeal. A greater sense of contributing their talents literally to make the world a better place. That sounds corny and cliche, but that is what teachers do every day. I get to watch it.
Sure.
And contribute to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to make a lot of money, teaching may not be it for you.
Yeah.
If you want to be a master of the universe, okay, go finance or whatever. But really, if you want to see the fruits of your labor show up in a stable community that is producing young people with the skills and talents to make the next world a better place.
Yes,
that's really, and you won't be poor.
Yep.
You'll live a nice life.
Yep.
You'll have wonderful friends and colleagues, and at some point when you get to be my age and you're closer to retirement, you look back on it all and say, yes, it was worth it.
Well, I'm already there, Charles.
That's it. I'm not too far behind.
No,
5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Fantastic. So, all right.
Thanks, Dave.
Charles, thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Giving us the insight, and good luck in the coming year going forward.
Yeah.
And like I say, we've got graduation. We've got the obviously in June we've got the band extravaganza, the choral extravaganza, a lot of good things. The high school play went phenomenally well. Mm-hmm. So a lot of good stuff here in town. So anyway.
Beautiful. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. And that is it for this episode. Our Dr. Charles Britton is in the house with our Board of Education update on the Portland school system. So thank you, Charles. And that is all.